Hi, my name is Ken Feinstein, Vice President of Midcom Data Technologies, and welcome to our webinar. For over 35 years, Midcom has been a leader in barcode printing and barcode scanning solutions. I am very excited to introduce our guest today from Printronix Auto ID, who will go over how to eliminate compliance fines caused by bad barcodes. With us today, we have Michael Paul and Bill Brown from Printronix. We invite everybody to participate by asking questions as you think of them. We'll have time at the end to go over them. And now it's my pleasure to pass this over to Mike.
Hello, this is Michael Paul. I am the Northeast Regional Sales Manager for Printronix Auto ID, and with me I have Bill Brown, who is our Senior Applications Engineer. I've been in the AIDC business for a little over 15 years. Bill has been with Printronix for, what is it now, 22 years, Bill?
Yeah, about 23 years.
23 years. So here's a little video of the Printronix 2D ODV. It is set up with our T8000 printers. You can see as the label is printing, we scan the image to make sure that you have good readable barcodes. If it does not come up that it is to the grade you want, as you can see, it will back up over the whole printer and strike it out. Barcode quality matters. Even with best practices, it is hard to ensure that you have consistent barcode quality, especially when you have large fleets of printers out at your locations. Unscannable and unreadable barcodes have huge impacts on business. There's many different ways that barcodes are bad quality. You may have an overheat, you may have a wrinkle or pressure issue, you could have adhesive buildup on the print head, you could have paper dust on either the label or the print head. The head life, you could just need to have a new head on the printer, or there may be a quiet zone that isn't large enough to where it will not scan. So there, like I said, then there's many other issues than just these. But that causes unreadable barcodes, and that in turn, as your customers may, send you compliance fines, or they may pay late on invoices, things of that nature, which all cost you money in the end. The main target markets for this retail industry. Large retailers have established practices to assess chargebacks on all of the times that they get in inventory. We do know of some that have some very hefty fines on chargebacks. Poor delivery practices leads to internal manufacturing, delivery costs, sales impacts due to not being on the store shelf with the product, and then fine assessment, which is a real big one. We see typical fines in the range of $5 to $20 per carton. We also see that suppliers are being fined up to $250,000 a year due to bad barcodes. How do we minimize the impact? We encourage suppliers to conform to on-time delivery, complete and accurate delivery, and then accurate readable barcode labels and shipping documents. And that's where we can come in with the 2D ODV to really help on that accurate readable barcode labels. Regulated industries, product traceability for human safety, healthcare, automotive, food industry. These areas in the automotive, they have to make sure that the safety parts can be traced all the way back. So if there is a recall on a part, that they can know which part it is and make sure that all these parts are taken out of circulation and replaced with good parts. With the food industry, the big thing right now is farm to table, but they have to track all of that information from the farm all the way to the table. So as you know, I think just a few weeks ago, Frisk Express had a recall on some iceberg lettuce because it had some type of bacteria in it and it was making people sick. So if they weren't able to trace the barcodes all the way back through the system, they would have to recall all of their product instead of just the product where the bacteria was at. So there may be 15 different farms that they have, but it was only one farm that was having the problems with the bacteria. So they only have to pull back from that one farm and not from all the farms, saving them money in the end. Within the healthcare industries, identify devices and supplies. It's driven by regulatory bodies. The US FDA wants unique device IDs on all their products that are scannable and readable so that they know where the product is at. The European Union has also had medical device regulations. There's regulations in Australia, Korea, India, and many other countries. But all of these come back to the same thing. You have to have good readable barcode labels, and without them, you can't meet the needs of the customers. 2D ODB and review. Okay, it is a fully integrated system. It's unattended operation and minimal configuration. Once you set this printer up, you don't, with the 2D ODB, you don't need to stand there and wait for the printer and make sure it's reading every one and make sure if it's a bad barcode that it's, you know, pulling it back and things of that nature. Once you set it up, get it ready to go. It's calibrated. It's ready to run. It's a closed loop system. We'll get more into what a closed loop system is later on. But it verifies a large suite of both 1D picket, ladder, and 2D barcodes. The grading is based on ISO standards also, 154, 15426, and the other ones that are in there. It supports both native print language and bitmap barcodes. So if you're sending either the native language barcode or you're sending a PDF or something like that to the printer to print out the barcodes, we can make sure that those barcodes are all readable. So we can scan all the different types of barcodes. Also, we go up to 8 IPs and 50 barcodes per label. So if you have a label with many different barcodes because you have 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 different items on one part, we can actually scan all those at once, make sure they're all good. If they're not, it will pull back the whole label, strike it all out, and then reprint it. The barcode X dimensions, we can get as small as 10 mils, which is 0.25 millimeters. There's a GPS feature, and what that does is it bitmaps out where the barcodes are, and that lets us print at that 8 IPs per second. There's a full backup overstrike, as you've seen, and then there's an auto ID data manager and grading report cards, and Bill will get into that in a little bit. But on this barcode, as you can see on the side here, you can see where this barcode was not good, so it went back and overstruck over the whole barcode. You can have it overstrike and reprint 1 to 5 times. So there's an advanced functionality. The auto ID manager is a grading report card. I'm going to let Bill talk more about this because he works with this all day.
Yes, one of the capabilities with our printer and the validator, along with our printer management software, Print Enterprise, is that we can automatically pull all the barcode data from the printer. And with that, you can automatically create, for instance, in this instance here, an Excel report, which you can include with the shipment to your customer saying that when these barcodes printed, they all had a grade of A, B, C, along with all the information of the decoded data, the symbology, and there are several other different parameters, but those are the general ones. And you'll notice here that we have a date and timestamp, which is important, the failure message, and the decoded data. But again, these reports can be automatically created on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. You can also manually create these reports. But several customers have found that this is very handy, as they now can give documented proof to their customers that they indeed did have good barcodes after they were printed. So back to you, Mike.
Yeah, here's the next slide that it has. This is just a blow up of all the different ways that you can have this report that comes out. Just once again, to let your customers know that you have good, accurate, and readable barcodes. We've had some enhancements on the 2D ODB. It's been out for about 3 years now. And at the beginning, we got the 2D ODB working. It's a very good system. We did have a little bit of problems. It took a little bit of time to get it set up properly, things of that nature. So we have upgraded a lot of things on it. First of all, we can retrofit any T8000 4-inch printer now. On our first version of this ODV, if you had a T8000 printer of Printronix already in your warehouse, you could not then upgrade and put on a 2D ODV onto that unit. What you would have to do is buy a whole new unit with the 2D ODV, but we're able to now let you just buy the ODV itself, put it onto the printer, do some firmware updates, and go on from there. Also, on the first version, we weren't able to do a cutter, rewinders, things of that nature. We are now able to do all of the cutters, rewinders. We also have a protective cover on it. So if you have a very high traffic area that this printer is in, and it gets bumped and around and things of that nature, this protective cover will help to keep it not to go out of alignment so that you keep getting accurate barcode reads. It also will adjust for ambient light. So with that cover over it, it keeps the light at a certain constant shine, is the best way I can put it, sorry. And that will allow, once again, to have accurate readable barcodes and to make sure that the 2D ODV is doing its job. Also, we made it significantly easier to install and align this 2D ODV. Once again, like I said, it would take 30, 45 minutes to do each and every one of these. Now we're down to typically 5 to 10 minutes. We've done some things, added some adjustment screws, made sure that our software was up to date and things of that nature to make all of those centering and lining it up much quicker. And I'm going to let Bill talk about the software enhancements.
Yes, we not only verify the barcodes, but we have the ability to validate. And basically, before, we would just measure the ISO parameters to make sure that we had a good, high-quality barcode and that it met all the standards. But several customers have asked, well, I would also like to validate to make sure that the data that was coming down was actually encoded into that barcode. So we have that ability to do that now. Unlike several of our competitors. Now, you can also export, as I mentioned before, you can export this data into an Excel sheet, but we can also pull it in XML, so you could custom make your barcoding reports to several third-party vendors now. But that was a key request that several customers asked. They said, well, we like the Excel reports, but we would really like it in XML format. So now we have the ability to do that with, like I said, several third-party vendors and applications.
And this puts it in a closed loop record-keeping system, which a lot of our competition do not have that. They don't have the ability to have a closed loop system. And then the label matrix part of it, we updated this also. Bill, I think you can get more into that too.
Yes, TechLinks, they make several different label creation packages similar to like Bartender or Loftware. But this particular one, CodeSoft, they've actually spent a lot of time to integrate our ODV 2D with their label creation software. So much like PrintNet, you could create these reports. They have dug down, and this is a part of their label creation software. You can see on the right, it gives a very detailed report of all of these specific barcode grading parameters. So this makes it a nice one-stop and one-step for your customers that may be using Bartender today or whichever. There are several packages, as you know. But this particular one was CodeSoft, and we worked together to put this solution together for them.
Okay, and as everybody says, does it really work? Does it validate well? Does it do the things that it's supposed to do? These are different case studies that we have. The first one is ERDT Medical Group. This is customer that's in actually Europe that is using our 2D ODV. And what they're doing in Europe is they have to make sure that every part that they put on for medical devices, that it's scannable and readable. So what they were having to do is the person themselves would have to scan it, make sure that it's readable after they put the label onto the part, and then have it go down the line. So that was causing them a lot of trouble as far as, very slow productivity, things of that nature. So it very much enhanced their productivity to put the 2D ODV onto the Printronix T8000 printers, because it validated it, pulled it back, struck it out if it wasn't a good barcode, and reprinted it. And that caused all of their everything to go up for them. Energy Automotive, they're an automotive supplier once again in Europe. They supply to people like BMW and Porsche, and they were having to label all their plastic parts onto the car, mostly plastic tanks, to make sure that they could track it through the system, so that once that tank went from their warehouse and through all of their manufacturing processes to Porsche or BMW, they can then also track that all the way back through the system to make sure that if there is a recall or something like that, that they knew where this part had come from. And then on World Kitchen, they are manufacturers of bakeware, dinnerware, and storage products. They employ about 3,000 people. Their biggest problem was unscannable barcodes were causing costly compliance fees, shipping delays, operation downtime. It was all due to poor barcode scannability. So they were paying thousands of dollars a month in fees from their customers because they were not having good barcodes that were being able to be read by their customers. So the solution of that was to get over the costly compliance fee and resolve the inefficiencies. They went with the Printronix 2D ODV online validator. And now that they are able to verify that the barcodes are 100% machine readable 100% of the time. As a result, they've adopted a solution. They've been able to save the company, once again, thousands of dollars per month, tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. So this, them going to a 2D ODV system actually had a return of investment of less than 6 months per printer. And now, is there any questions?
Yeah, well, I got a couple that are coming in here. Let me have time to get to some of these. I think you addressed this. Here's one. Is the 2D ODV user installable?
At this time, no, it is not. While it is much easier to install, this is a complex piece of equipment, and we only have certified technicians install the ODV 2D at this time.
Yeah, and I'm actually glad that question came up. We have been able to help our customer base with the installs. We do have certified technicians throughout the U.S. that we're able to help with. And I personally went through the 2D ODV training, and I remember how difficult it was on the old version. With the new version, it is a much simpler installation, but yes, it does require a certified technician. But again, we can help our customers with that.
This is also a camera system. Ken, this is a camera system, and that's really the big reason why it's so difficult to it's a little bit more tricky to install it the first time, is because of that camera system. So it actually takes pictures of splices of the label and puts it all back together and reads the barcode. So if it's up just a little bit, those spliced images don't come together correctly, and then you're always getting bad reads of barcodes. So that's why we want a trained technician right now to be able to install that. Yeah,
especially when you say it could read 50 independent barcodes on a single label. I can imagine the precision has to be just right.
Yes.
Yes, it does.
This came over, but I think it was answered while you were talking. How many times or how many attempts can the printer make to reread a bad label. I know it strikes it out, but that's an adjustable setting, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, yes, it is. The default is 5 retries, but you can go down all the way to 1. And what will happen when you reach that amount of retries, the printer's going to flag an error. Because the last thing we want, if there's a burnt out print element, you don't want to print hundreds of labels and have it retry and retry. So this will flag an error, and it'll cause the operator to have to come over and address the issue, whether it's just cleaning the print head, replacing the ribbon. But yes, we can go 5 to 1 times.
And once it fails those times, again, it requires a user interface before it will continue to print the next label in the sequence.
Correct. You need to correct the error and put the printer back to online, and then it will resume.
Okay. This one came up. Will the 2D ODV work with the older T5000 model?
No, it will not.
That came in a 1D version.
No, it will not. It only will work for the T8000. There are future plans to implement it on the T6000, but that may not be until sometime next year.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into this other question, a similar question. Will this work with other brands of printers? And you just mentioned this is very specific to the T8000. So the competitive manufacturers would not be able to implement the actual 2D ODV device that's integrated into the system.
No,
here's another one that just came in. Are there plans to come out with a verifier for 6-inch wide print?
There is talk of that in engineering. I don't have a timeline, but there's definite plans to do that. But unfortunately, we just don't have a timeline as of yet. But it definitely wouldn't be out this year. That much I do know.
Okay, look forward to that when it does come out. You mentioned the printer with the ODV can work with cutters and rewinders. Can this printer do a full roll rewind?
No, the T8000 cannot do a full roll rewind. It can do a partial roll, maybe like a half roll. But we have worked with third parties that create external rewinders in a couple of instances. So that is what we're suggesting for that application.
That's a good workaround. Okay, let's see. Well, that looks like all the questions that are coming in. If I didn't get to anyone's questions, by all means, let me know and we can answer them outside of this call. But I do want to thank Michael and for giving us all this great information on how to eliminate compliance fines. Right now, we have a offer, which is our Try It Before You Buy It program, where you can try this solution risk-free. You can call us at 866-886-2252 or visit the web address on the screen right now, which is midcomservicegroup.com/ODV-2D-promo. And again, I'd like to thank our friends over at Printronix for putting this together for us. And this will conclude our webinar. Thank you.